5:20 now on Drive. A wolf that escaped from an animal sanctuary in Berkshire this morning has been recaptured unharmed. Children at a school near the Wolf Conservation Trust site in Beenham have been told to stay indoors while the search was happening.
The bad weather. I nearly said bad wolf then. It wasn't a bad wolf. The bad weather was initially blamed for the escape. It was thought that high winds had damaged some of the fencing. But the sanctuary have now said that actually they think the wolf's enclosure gate may have been left open deliberately.
Well, let's speak to wildlife presenter Annika Svenska, who bottle-fed Torak the wolf as a cub. Hello, Annika.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. The main thing is Torak's safe and sound.
Yes, thank goodness for that.
Yeah. What do you make of this?
Oh gosh, it's ever so nail-biting, isn't it? Because every time I hear of a wolf escaping, it always seems to end with tragedy. We've had wolves escaping from Colchester Zoo that were shot dead. We've had a wolf escaping from the Cotswold Wildlife Park last year who had cubs, and she was shot dead. So my heart went right up in my mouth this morning when I heard that one of the wolves had escaped from the Wolf Conservation Trust, because, of course, I've met some of their wolves, and Torak in particular, when I found out it was him, I was ever so worried. I spent a couple of days bottle feeding him, and when he was at the Anglian Wolf Society before he moved to the Wolf Conservation Trust, and I also met him as an adult when he'd moved. He's a gorgeous, wonderful, gentle, beautiful wolf, and the thought of something awful happening to him because he'd escaped would have been devastating to me.
Do you know what? That was my thought when I heard that he was out, because I thought the next thing we're going to hear is he's had to be shot. What would Torak have been like out of his enclosure? Would he have been afraid and therefore dangerous? How would he have behaved?
No, he would not have been dangerous. Wolves are not confrontational. They get given this terrible, terrible image through awful Hollywood movies like The Grey. And, of course, myths and legends and fairy tales. They're ever so timid. They're really, really timid. They just want to run away and put as much distance between themselves and people. It took the Wolf Conservation Trust all day to catch him, and these are people that he trusts. You know, he got out, he got a bit spooked, he was a bit timid. He would have been enjoying his freedom. It was probably lovely, you know, out in the woods. And he went for a little bit of a walk. But he would never have been confrontational. I mean, you hear of polar bears, yes, coming up to people in the Arctic, because that's the way they are. But a wolf is never, ever like that.
Do you know any details about where he was and how they caught him, Annika?
I don't know where he was. All I understand is he walked about 8 miles west, I believe, of the place, and he stayed in wooded areas. And he was lured back to a trailer by staff from the park that basically just put probably some of his favourite food in there.
Oh. Are they like dogs in that sense? That, well, I mean, they are in a sense, aren't they, a breed of dog? But I mean, that he would have recognised his owners.
He would have recognised them, yes. I mean, founder Sarah Palmer was the one that apparently got him back into the trailer. She's got a very special bond with him. When I went to the park, I sat with her and Torak, and he absolutely adores her. He can be timid of people he doesn't know, but that's a very normal wolf trait. But for the people that he trusts and he's been raised with, and they do an exceptional job, I've got to say, these people at the Wolf Conservation Trust, everything they do is for the wolves, and they raise so much money for wolves all over the world.
We were talking earlier, Annika, about those people who live in and around the Conservation Trust site, about whether, and this applies generally around the country, whether it be a safari park or otherwise, whether people moving close have any kind of reservation that one day this might happen. Because as you pointed out at the very start, it has happened before, hasn't it? We've heard of baboons on a school roof earlier on.
Well, all animals are different, aren't they, of course? They're all going to have different levels of how they approach people. But wolves, no, wolves they're just really not confrontational animals.
They've had a really bad press then, haven't they, Annika?
They've had
bats.
Appallingly terrible press. But the one good thing I can think of that will come out of this is that the police worked exceptionally well with the staff at the Wolf Conservation Trust. They were up in their helicopter. They had thermal imaging. It was brilliant. They were going out of their way to make sure that this wolf was captured safely and with non-lethal methods, which, of course, is brilliant, because I really want to see more of this done down the line with other zoos. Cotswold Zoo, I mean, I really don't know the details, but I know the wolf that escaped there was shot very, very quickly. I think there could have been a lot more effort put into tracking the wolf down and using non-lethal methods to capture her, considering she had puppies as well.
Yeah, I don't know where that one was, though. I mean, I think if Torak was in a wooded area, then there was probably no imminent danger, was there?
No, but I just think it was the other wolf was shot too quickly, and of course there's been other wolves. They're not a danger. There are ways
No.
of luring them back.
But this is again going back. I mentioned bats a moment ago. If an animal's got a bad press, to the uninitiated, a wolf. I mean, if the average person on the street heard that there was a wolf around the corner, they'd run a mile, wouldn't they? That's the problem.
Well, it depends. I've got some friends of mine that would probably be quite excited.
Well, that says more about you, I think. Mind you, once you've bottle fed a wolf, I guess you have a nice bond with them.
I only bottle fed him for a couple of days, but I tell you, that was pretty exceptional because wolves really don't forget. And I hadn't seen him for a few years, and I went to the Wolf Conservation Trust, and I was told he was quite timid and quite picky about the people he liked to meet. And for some reason, he did instantly take a like to me, and he came and sat down next to me and gave me a big lick on the face. And I'd like to think it's because he remembered me in some manner of when he was very young.
Annika, it's a very happy ending. That's the main thing.
Yes.
Good stuff. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we are. Annika Svenska and the story of Torak, the bottle-fed wolf. So there we are. If someone runs down the street shouting there's a wolf on the loose, you don't have to panic quite as much as you might initially have thought.